Hi guys, and welcome to Cooking with Fat Julie, where I share tips and tricks in the kitchen as well as quick and easy recipes. Today, it's hot. It's so hot that unless I'm lying in front of a fan and not moving, I'm breaking a sweat. So, no makeup. If you have any idea on how to wear makeup while it's hot without it melting all over my face and making me look like a clown, please let me know. Also, you may have noticed my hair is up because it's hot. Now, I need to make a cake for today because it's a special occasion, but I do not want to turn on my oven. So, we're gonna make a no-bake cheesecake, and I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. Okay, so the first thing I've got here is a 9-inch springform pan. What is a springform pan? Well, it's one of those pans that's got the little spring on the side to close in the bottom, and then once the cake is done, you can remove the sides and just have it sit on the bottom. I'm going to be a bit daring today and try to move this cake onto a different platter when it's done. So I've put a piece of wax paper underneath, and you can see that it's there, and hopefully it will work. I don't know, I hope the cake won't break and have another disaster on my hands, but this is what I'm going to try to do. Obviously, you don't have to do this. Now, for my crust, I'm just going to press it down onto the bottom of the pan. However, if you want, you can press your crust up the sides of the pan too. That's up to you. Now, usually these cakes are made with either a graham cracker crust or an Oreo cookie crust. You can definitely use the same techniques I'm going to show you to make those types of crust. This cake is going to be for someone who's not a fan of Oreo cookies, and we don't have graham crackers here in France, or not that I have found, so I'm going to use a cookie called spéculoos, which works just as well. It has a completely different taste, but it's what I use here because it's what everyone uses here. So I'm going to put this aside for a minute and show you how to make this crust. My recipe calls for 2 packages or 2 20-sheet packages of graham crackers. I don't even know how much that is. So basically, I'm going to take my cookies and I'm going to use whatever it is I need to cover the bottom of my pan. And these are what the spéculoos look like. They're used here to go with coffee. They're kind of a cinnamon type cookie. And you can put these in a Ziploc bag and bang them with a hammer or put them in a food processor. I'm just going to cover mine with this piece of fabric. It's a napkin, and I'm just going to smash them with a hammer until I have a fine crust. Anything that's left over, I'll just put them in a package and save them for another day. Okay, so here is my fine crust, and I'm just going to throw those into a bowl and then bash up another package, and that should be enough. If it's not, I'll just add in another package and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've used my 2 small packages of cookies and I've crushed them up with a hammer. Now, like I said, you can use a food processor, but why take the fun out of bashing something with a hammer? Now, my recipe calls for 11 tablespoons of melted butter. I find that a little bit excessive, so I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons and see what that looks like. What you're looking for is enough moisture to hold this together. But we are going to put it in the fridge afterwards to solidify, and it's pretty much going to stay in the fridge until you serve it. So the way I see it, this recipe already has a huge amount of calories in it. I don't see why we're going to add so many tablespoons of butter if we don't need it. So I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of melted butter, and I will stir it around, and then we'll take a look and see if that will be sufficient to cover my cake sheet. Now you're going to need to do a little bit of mixing because it's going to clump up together. You might even want to just throw your hands in there and knead that around. That's going to be up to you. If you have a food processor, just go ahead and throw your butter into there after you've crumbled up your cookies. That should be good. So I'm looking at this now, and that looks pretty moist. I mean, when I put that in my fingers, yeah, I've got butter on my fingers. That's a lot of butter. So for me, this is going to be okay. But I'm really trying to watch my calorie intake and what I'm eating. If you want to add all of the butter that the recipe calls for and have a crust that really stays together and is hard, then go ahead. In my case, this may fall apart when I serve it, but I'm willing to take that risk to get rid of 9 tablespoons of butter. That's huge. That's so much butter. So I'm going to, with my fingers, press this down onto the bottom of my pan. Let me just show you that. Okay, so I've washed my hands again just in case, and I've poured that in there. And it looks like I could maybe do with a little bit more, but I'm not, you know, the crust is not what I want as the centerpiece of this dessert. What I really want to concentrate on is the filling. So with my fingers, I'm just going to push that down. If you're not a fan of using your fingers, you can use the bottom of a flat glass or a rolling pin, anything that you have in your kitchen that's going to fit in here. Even the bottom of a spoon. I mean, I could grab the spoon that I mixed this with and just press that down. But I don't know, I like to get my fingers in there, and that way I can make sure that everything is the way I want it to be. I mean, I can really feel what's happening. So I've pressed this around. It's completely covered the bottom of my cake pan. Like I said earlier, if you want to go up the sides, you can do that. I'm not going to recommend this going up the sides if you're using as little butter as I am, because it might just fall off when you go to serve it. But there you go, that's what it looks like. Now, you're going to want to put this in the fridge for at least 10 minutes. That means that you can put it in the fridge and start working on your filling, or you can throw it in the fridge and start working on making lunch like I'm going to do. So once I'm ready to start making the filling, I will show you how we do that. And we're back. So my recipe calls for 2 8-ounce packages of cream cheese. Now check this out. I'm really excited. We actually have some name brand American cream cheese here in France. It costs a fortune. So if you're in France and trying to make this recipe, you can use this. Enfin, j'ai 2 paquets pour faire 450 grammes. I said I've got 2 packs to make 450 grams. But you can substitute Saint-Moré. It doesn't taste the same, but it gives the same texture and you get the same effect. So I've let these warm up a little bit on the counter, and I'm going to open them up and put them in my bowl. And then I'm going to use my electric mixer to beat them until creamy. I'm not going to make you listen to that because it's noisy. So let me beat them up and then we'll continue. Okay, so my 16 ounces or 450 grams of cream cheese have been beaten, which was super simple since I had left them on the counter for about an hour just to get to room temperature. What is next in this recipe is 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, and that's about 415 milliliters, and of course that gives me, my can here is almost 400 milliliters. I'm not going to worry about that because, hey, the thicker the better, right? That's what we're looking for. If it's too thick to actually do anything with, I might add a little bit of cream because I have some cream. But I think this should be okay. I'm going to use my spatula to get out everything I can, and then I'm going to use my mixer to mix it all up. Don't forget, while you're mixing, to use your spatula to get what's off the sides, to bring down what sticks to the sides as you go. So again, I'm not going to make you listen to my mixer. I'm just going to mix it and we'll continue from there. Okay, so here we go. It's all done. Now, as you can see, it's pretty runny. That's okay, because this baby is going in the fridge, and that's where it's going to thicken up. Now, last part of my recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. The person I'm making this for is not a big fan of lemon, so I'm just going to put in a squirt to help bring out the flavors, and just really, that's it. But if you like lemon, go ahead, go wild. It also calls for a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Vanilla is not a problem in our house, so there we go. Now, I'm going to beat this up and then I will show you how to put it into the cake pan. While we're here, there's a trick I'd like to show you. If you take your beaters out like this, well, this is not bad. They're not totally covered. But sometimes whatever it is that you're mixing gets really caked on there, and then you have to use your fingers to get as much off as you can. What you want to do is actually mix that and then pull it out as it's still beating and turn it off gradually until it comes out. Now you don't want this to splatter all over the place, so be careful. But what you want it to do is you want what's on here to come off as you're taking it out. So let me just show you this. There you go. And actually my beaters are a lot cleaner than they were, but it's not a really sticky mixture, so it doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but that is a trick for you in the kitchen when you're using an electric mixer. So I'm gonna get my cake pan out of the fridge and we're gonna put this in there. Okay, so the first thing I wanna show you here is that my crust is hard. At this point, it's not going to shake off and do crazy things. So I'm good with that. Now I'm gonna take my bowl and I'm gonna pour this just all over the place. Don't worry, we can even this out once it's poured in. And then I'm gonna use my spatula to get out all that stuff that just wants to be stubborn and not come out. We're good. So with my spatula, I'm just gonna make sure I've got it as even as possible. I am going to bang it a little bit to try and get the bubbles out. And I'm going to shake it, get it as even as possible. And that is about it. We are good. So what I'm going to do now is cover this guy with plastic wrap and put it back in the fridge for 2.5 to 3 hours before I continue with my cake. Okay, here is my cake that has now been in the fridge for 3 hours. I've taken the sides of the pan off and it is ready to eat. The kids said that this was the best cake they've ever tasted, so I've made another one, but this time in a rectangular cake pan. As you can see, I've presented this one on an upside down baking sheet covered in tin foil because I don't have anything else to put it on. But let's hope they enjoy this tonight. Please let me know how yours turn out. Leave a comment in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and bon appétit!